you can add revenue rather quickly if you are white labeling for multiple organizations that are growing.
Hey everyone, today I'm super excited to be joined by Jackie Benjamin. If you don't know Jackie, she's the founder and CEO of We Assist, which specializes in helping home service businesses connect with their target audience and grow their business through effective digital marketing strategies. And her specialty and our topic today is white labeling your services for other agencies. And I'm so excited. Jackie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brooke. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a longtime fan and enjoy all your guests. So I'm really honored to be here today.
Thank you. I am so excited to talk about this. So, Jackie and I have been talking for a few weeks now before today, which is the day that we're recording. And funnily enough, we just started white labeling some of our services. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how it goes. So, like, literally, I am like so excited to have this conversation. I know you're going to learn something too, audience. But, Jackie, first questions first. What made you decide to start your own agency?
Yeah. So, in 2018, I had a couple of things happen. Both my parents died in a short amount of time with each other, and then I got sick. And so I took some time off, and in that time off, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, was working for a company that I absolutely loved. They're an amazing company, and thought I would retire there. So, unlike a lot of your guests, I never had really thought I was going to be an agency owner or an entrepreneur. And then I had a dream, woke up out of a sound sleep with two thoughts: start a business and help women. And so from there, I took the next 6 months talking with trusted friends, mentors, people who had started businesses, and really delving into what that could mean. And what I kept coming back to was starting an agency where I could really create jobs, provide great service for businesses so they could grow, and also create jobs for women. So that's how I came into being as an agency owner.
Shout out to Jackie for being a woman who supports women. We love that. I love that. So we're off to a fantastic start. Now, explain without getting too much into it, because we're about to get into it, but explain what kind of clients you serve. So I said home service businesses. What does that mean?
Yeah, so that means basically we're supporting the HVAC, plumbers, and remodelers, so home remodelers. So we support them directly with our services, but we also white label with marketing agencies who serve those businesses. So that's a lot of what we'll be talking about today, but so that's what the home services space, and specifically the types of businesses that we're supporting, and then through those marketing agencies, they are also supporting.
Very cool. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's pretend I know nothing. When you say white labeling, I'm like, what? What is that? I don't even know what that means. So for those of you who don't know what that means, I'm going to have Jackie describe what white labeling means and tell us why it's beneficial for agencies.
Yeah, that's actually a great question, because as I started down this road, a lot of people really didn't know what I was talking about when I talked about white labeling our services. So essentially, white labeling is you take a service, a product, software, and you purchase it without a brand on it. So as the reseller, if you will, or company that wants to sell this service, product, or software, for the sake of today's conversation of the service, you purchase this from a provider and they don't put their brand on it. Essentially, it becomes yours and you sell it as yours. So really, that's what white labeling is, and especially in this context. And so again, it's a great question, because a lot of people really hadn't heard the term or didn't really know what it meant.
I remember the first time I had somebody come to me and ask about white labeling, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And like sneakily, while on this call, I had to run over to Google and be like, what is white labeling? I have no idea what this person's asking. So I get it now. But yeah, it's the act of Jackie provides marketing services. Brooke doesn't provide one of the services that Jackie provides. And I go to Jackie and I say, hey, I have a client who needs our social care services, but they also need branding help, right? And we'll get more into this. But you say, oh, yes, we can provide that. Here's what our cost to you would be for that service. This is how it would look. And then I would bundle it into my agreement as if B Squared was doing all of the work, even though Jackie's doing the branding piece. And I would pay you and the client would pay me.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And sometimes the question is, what's the difference between that and outsourcing?
Yeah.
So outsourcing traditionally, the outsourcing provider does have client communication. So they are just another provider. They're a provider that's providing that service. They're not really coming on as part of your team or part of your services, as part under your organization, if you will. So traditionally, that outsourcers will have some kind of client communication, or could have some client communication, whereas white labelers are really just providing the service.
That's such a great distinction because you're right. So like I was saying in the intro, we just started white labeling some of our social care services for another agency and we have no contact with the client. They don't even really know we exist, I don't think. So that's a
Mhm.
great distinction. If you're outsourcing your services, if I was taking those branding services from Jackie, but I wanted her to do the communication part of it, I would outsource to Jackie versus white label. I think that's a great distinction.
Mhm.
What led you to start offering services that were white labeled? Did this start from the beginning or how did this all come about?
No, I really didn't even think about this before. So, we were offering social media management services from the beginning and have been doing a lot of that. And in that, through networking and referrals, I had started meeting with a lot of marketing consultants and agencies, just being out there networking and meeting, somebody knows somebody and wants you to meet them, and just talking to them about their businesses. The one thing I kept hearing consistently over and over and over again is, we're doing social media management and we want to stop it because it's so, like, the daily execution was wearing them down,
Mhm.
or we want to offer this service but we don't have somebody in house who could do it on a daily basis. I kept hearing that over and over again. It's something the marketing consultants and agencies I was talking to were very interested, and their clients were asking for, but they really had no desire to do it themselves. So I started thinking, this might be a great way for us to provide some services to them to help them grow their businesses and me grow my business,
Yeah.
and service their clients in a more holistic way.
I'm like I'm so excited. I'm trying to contain myself over here. Um okay, so tell me about what steps did you take, right? So I googled white labeling and that's how I, started my steps. But how did you start? What was the first step that you took and what did it look like operationally? So how did you figure out what you needed to do cuz it's not as easy as just giving the same service, right? There's a
Right.
lot of different pieces that are different because you're not speaking to the client, right? So, how did you
Mhm.
set this up for success?
Yeah, that's great. And really, a lot of what I took was from all these conversations I had with, talking to them about their process and hearing about how they work with their clients and knowing how we work with our clients. The first thing I did is created this document and process around how to white label with us. So I think literally the document is called Working with We Assist. And I shared that with anybody who is interested in white labeling my services, because in it I spell out, this is what we expect from you, marketing consultants and agencies. This is what you can expect from us. This is how we're going to do this. So it was very clear, because a lot of the people I was talking to were asking this question: so how is this going to work? So I thought, I'm going to create a
Let me
document that's going
explain
to
it
tell
for
them
you.
exactly how it's going to work, so that every time I meet with them, now we can answer all the questions and certainly have that conversation and build a rapport
Yeah.
and relationship. But then they have some kind of solid process and documented process that they know they can refer back to, and really understand it. So that was one of the first things I did, is just to help people understand what this meant and why it would be beneficial for them. So the second thing I did was really retool our process a little bit, because we have been client facing. There's some pieces there that we were doing that now we weren't going to be doing. So
Mhm.
what I needed to make sure was that the marketing agencies, even if they had offered social media, but especially if they hadn't, knew what they needed to get from their clients before we met with them. So I again created a document for them and a form for them. A lot of what was on the form they most likely would have had if they had built a marketing strategy or done any other kinds of marketing. But some things are very specific to social media management, which they might not have gotten if they did a bit broader marketing strategy, high level marketing strategy. So I created documents for them to try to make it easier for them to hire us, frankly.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I did. But then also looking at, okay, now these are, again, giving them tools. If you don't have a social media content calendar, here's the one that we use. You're welcome to. Here's the template. Creating these tools that we used as templates. And then I really had to evaluate the software that we were using for posting and scheduling, because it wasn't really agency friendly. It was a great tool, but not super friendly towards agencies. So it was a little bit harder and clunkier for the marketing agencies to use, because essentially we're sending the content to them. And for the most part, most of them are sending the content on to their clients.
Mm-hmm.
Some are doing approval themselves, but not, I would say the bigger percentage, they're reviewing it with their clients, or their clients are reviewing it. So I had to find a software that was going to make that process really easy. So we completely switched the tool we were using to make it a lot easier for them.
Do you mind if I am nosy and I ask you what tool you are with now?
I would love if you asked me that, because I love this tool. We use Cloud Campaign.
I love them. They're so
I
fantastic.
love them too.
Okay.
They're not only is the tool fantastic, one, it's specifically geared towards agencies.
Yes.
Although you can use it if you're not an agency. They have a version of that, but it's specifically geared towards agencies. They have like frontline information on any kind of changes that are coming down the line with social media. So their changes are fast. They adapt and flex really fast with the marketplace. And with all the changes, especially with Facebook, with their APIs and their groups and all that, they're amazing how fast they're changing. And their customer service is out of this world. It's fantastic.
I knew that already, but if you haven't gone to check out Cloud Campaign, check it out. I actually just recommended them to a friend of mine who sold his agency, is going to start a new agency. He's crazy.
Yeah.
and he needs, he'll be serving other agencies. So I told him to check out Cloud Campaign. This is great.
Yes.
How do you know what or which services are suitable for white labeling? Right? So you're saying social media management, which makes so much sense. I do it. You do it. We know it's hard. In fact, if you go back to almost the beginning of the show, listen to Jamie Teasdale's episode, and she talks about how she stopped doing social media. So I think this is a thing, right? But what else is there that you think is suitable, or is everything suitable?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And first of all, I felt so validated by that episode.
Aw.
So that was great.
Shout out,
I was like,
Jamie.
yes, you can stop doing that. Other people will do this for you. No, it's obviously social media management. What I'm looking at is, what are the daily execution piece things that need to happen in a business, that if you're a marketing agency that's really focused on branding, strategy, the bigger picture, I look at strategy versus execution.
Yeah.
So anything that's on the execution side, I think, is prime for white labeling. SEO, website management, Google Ads, pay-per-click, any services that are like that are more the execution piece of it, great white labeling services. I think from the strategy perspective, it's harder to white label, because you are spending a lot of time with the client. You need to dig deep. You need to understand their business really well. So broad strokes, execution side is great to look at for white labeling.
Yeah, I think that is fantastic advice, because we're the done for you people. We say done for you, but like exactly what you said, the strategy, I feel like you are really like with that client side by side for months, sometimes figuring out tone of voice and strategy and whatnot. And you're right, that wouldn't really work in a white labeling situation. That'd be more of an outsourcing situation.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Let's talk about pricing. Yeah. How do you price white labeled services? Do you bring your market date? So did you have like a market rate for clients, and did you bring that down to like a wholesale or white label rate for those clients? And how do you care what your client turns around and charges their client? Can we just get into that whole thing?
Yeah, let's, because that was another big question when I started talking to some of these marketing agencies who had never white labeled before, is how do I charge for this?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me what they charge. I'll try to give them some guidelines if they ask me. But from my services, what I looked at was, yes. And the answer is yes, I do. I have essentially retail and a wholesale price.
Okay. Okay.
Retail price direct to clients, and then wholesale price that I'm providing to the marketing agencies or for the white label services. But how I came up with that is looking at really four things. So looking at my business at the marketing, the sales, the client interaction, and then the delivery of the work. So all of that goes into the price, of course, for
Right.
whatever you're doing. So delivery of the work, same. My team is doing the work, my team is delivering the work, whether we're white labeling or we're working directly with clients. So that is the cost is the same. The cost of the work with the client is now pretty much non-existent because we're not doing it.
Right.
So and I'm a time tracker,
Same.
this really works. You really need to track your time in order to make this, to figure out what your cost needs to be to still be profitable. And you don't have to do it forever, but you do have to do it. And you have to do it for a couple of weeks or a month just to understand, because it's more than just your team's time that's going into this and creating the work, right? It's your time, again, your marketing time, your client time, and your sales time. Those are the three variables there. So the marketing, again, you're marketing once to the marketing agencies, and based on the agency, you could have multiple clients from them. So we've had agencies, we've had 4 or 5 clients with them. So now marketing and sold to her one time, but I have 4 or 5 clients from that. So your marketing and sales cost is reduced. And then your client facing time. So whoever's doing that, your account manager, their time is either greatly reduced or doesn't fit into the equation at all. And so that's how you need to figure out what your profitability is. And so it's not really just I'm just reducing my prices and that's going to be great.
Right.
You do have to do that because you have to make it. The people you're working with also have to make a profit, but it's really more than just the work going into it that is now kind of taken out of the equation or reduced in the equation, which allows you to be profitable when you reduce your prices.
I really like that you mentioned the whole, like, you're selling to many instead of selling to one.
Right.
And this is a little bit selfish, y'all, but I think this will help you too if you're listening or watching. But okay, so here's my thing, my quandary, I guess. This seems like a really good solution for what's happening right now, right? We serve a lot of enterprise clients and mid-tier clients. They're all on hiring and budget freezes. So it's the past couple of years, more than, as we all know, have been difficult when you're working with that tier of client. Now we closed this agency white labeled client, and instead of selling one-on-one, this agency is going to bring me probably a total of 5 clients to start. We're started with 3, then they're going to add 2. We may add more beyond that. So I'm thinking to myself, and I would love your opinion, could this be a short-term solution to the market right now? Or could it be a long-term solution just to add another revenue stream?
Yeah, I think both. So I think it could be both. And especially if you're in a place where you're struggling to get business directly with clients, start meeting again with the marketing agencies that or that you've met through networking, referrals. I think just talk to them about how could they offer more of a full service program to their clients, and then start thinking about what services you offer that could fit into that. That could be just a short-term thing. You don't have to do this forever. You could try it. You could set up a 6-month contract or a year contract or whatever it is, just to try it and see how it feels for you. The other side of this could be your play, your long-term game, especially if you don't really like selling or don't want to be working directly with clients. There's a lot that goes into that. I mean, there's a monthly meeting, there's chasing down content, there's a lot of things that go into that, or getting content for them. So if that's not something you really want to do, then white labeling is a great long-term option for you, because you can make money doing it and, have some of those pieces taken out. So it could be both, really.
Okay. One more tangent question.
Yeah.
Let's say it goes wonderfully, Right. I am trying this out, or you who are listening are trying this out, and you're like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I like doing this. It's going well. Do you add this service? Like, so you said you served regular clients, let's just call them,
Mhm.
and then you started serving agencies. Does all of that exist on one website together, or is it two separate entities under the same brand?
Yeah. So right now what I have, so that's actually a good question, one that I've struggled with myself. My website right now just reflects my direct client pricing
Okay.
services situation. However, what I have seen is people create a different landing page for their white label services.
Yeah.
All the white labeling I'm doing is really, again, through referrals and through networking. So I'm out there talking about it. I'm meeting with these agencies. I'm talking to them about how to white label and that we could do that service. So, so really, all my white label work has been through
Okay.
networking, referrals. But you could have a separate landing page on your website for those services if you wanted to direct somebody there. But the one thing I've found is that a lot of this is based on trust. I don't know if you found it with your white labeling. So the chances, the trust that you need to build up to find the right partner and to have that right partner be okay with you, a lot of times comes from multiple conversations.
Mm.
So the web, while having a landing page it would be helpful and good, I've found that not a lot of the business comes through there.
Okay.
Through, looking for that, or through through that avenue because of the relationships. Yeah.
Well, you brought up something that I want to also touch on, is that whole trust thing. How do you establish partnerships with agencies for your services, right? Because you want to make sure you're working with a good partner, even though you're the one providing the work. If like you could see where it could go wrong. So like, let's just talk about that trust piece.
Yes. Yeah. That's a huge part of this for me, huge part of this offering white label services, because I want to work with an agency that has similar values to mine and who treats their clients like I would treat my clients, even though we're never in the client equation. That's important to me. So to have this, it's a mutual trust. Trust that we're going to do the work in a way that they're expecting us to, and that they're going to care for the work that we do and deliver it in the way that we would want them to. So really, it's meeting in person or on Zoom and having those conversations and really understanding each other, and how I'd like to know how the marketing agency works, how they deliver to clients, how they work with clients, all of those things before we enter into an agreement. And I also want to make sure that up front I tell them how we work.
Yeah.
We're not going to meet with your clients. I expect these things from you. Like I'm going to ask you for video. I'm going to ask you for content, for pictures. Like those are the things I'm going to need from you. If that's something that you can't provide to me, then this probably isn't going to work, because I'm not going to do those things. I can't do those things. And, I need to make sure that everybody's comfortable all around with that. So it's just really important to have those honest conversations right up front when you're talking about the relationship, and be honest about, your pricing, what it's going to cost. Certainly be ready to explain it if they're asking. I've had people ask, why are you charging this or that? So being ready to explain that, be ready to explain how you work and how you're going to communicate. I think just those conversations for me are very important, and that being that trusted partner is a key part of this for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that brings me to another point, which is how do you ensure that the quality of your work that you're giving and all of that brand consistency that you're offering and knowledge and expertise is maintained when you hand it over to someone else? Are there checks and balances, or how does that work?
Yes. So we, because we use Cloud Campaign, the approval process is very, very easy, and nobody needs a login or anything like that. So they get a link. So we send the link of the approvals of all of the work that we've done to the marketing agencies, At that point, they can either approve it themselves or they can send it off to their client, but they do not have the access to that content to change it.
Ah.
So any changes that do need to be made need to come back to us because we are the experts, and that is why they hired us. So we want to make sure, and it's not really about control. First of all, it's about, again, we're the experts, but they also hired this so they don't have to do this work. So any changes that they need or their client wants come right back to us, and we get those turned around really quickly and back out the door so that they can present them back to their clients and everything looks good. What we do is, we have an onboarding process, and it takes a couple weeks to make sure that we have their brand voice and everything that's how they want it. But the marketing agencies always have approval before. We don't ever send anything directly to clients. So they always have that approval and are free. We don't have a limit on edits or anything like that. So we want to make sure we get it right and that it's the quality they want and the brand that they want. And, as anything with marketing, when you're doing something like that for someone else, it takes a minute to get that figured out and get it right. And you want feedback from them. And so we make sure, again, it's about the trust. Yeah. I want to trust they're going to give feedback to us if they think something needs to be changed or something needs to be different. And they need to trust that we're going to do it.
I like that you mentioned the process behind it too. We send the calendar off through the link, which is I've seen that in Cloud Campaign. Great. It's white labeled, meaning I'm assuming your client's logo is already on that. So when they send on to their customer, they see their agency's logo. Are you following?
Yeah.
And then you don't allow them to make those edits inside of the calendar. They come back to you with the edits and then you make them. I really like that process advice. What about other challenges? Are there challenges that you've encountered white labeling? How have you addressed them? Can you forewarn all of us who are maybe venturing into this world?
Yes. So, the one challenge that you do face is that you are relying on somebody else for content, right? So, again, I keep talking about trusted partnership, but it's even if you have a trusted partnership, things happen, right? Everybody's busy doing their own thing, right? So, I think one of the things is to just have the open line of communication, whether you do a monthly meeting or you don't do a monthly meeting, and really that depends on the relationship with this, with the marketing agency. If you have 5-6 clients, you're probably going to want to meet and talk about all those clients at one time, right? But so that I think that's one thing is, you lose a little bit of control over that around getting the content in a timely manner. So again, it's just being upfront and helping the marketing agency understand your process. So I sit down with them and say, okay, we're going to deliver things. When are you going to deliver to your client? Let's say you deliver to your client the 25th of every month. Okay, so for us, let's back this up. Now we need to deliver to you a week before that, which means that you need to have content to us by this date. So I think really, kind of setting talking through the process with them and helping them understand your date. So I think that's one drawback, is really, just that, and making sure that you're very upfront about when you need things.
Yeah.
The other one is that, and it's really not anything in your control, but if they're struggling to get their clients to approve posts.
We've all been there.
Right. I say not that that's happened to anybody, but if they're struggling to get their clients to approve posts, then you just need to make a decision. Okay, depending on what you have going on, who the marketing agency, right? How are we going to accommodate for that? Are we going to very, very strict, no rescheduling policy, or are we going to be a little flexible and say, okay, I know your client was out of town, so a post didn't get approved in time. We're just going to move some things around in the month. So just have to be ready for that and really figure out how you want to work. Do you want a very strict policy? For us, we're a little more flexible. Like things happen, right? We understand that. Our tool Cloud Campaign makes it very easy to move things around. So we're a little more flexible. But if you don't want to be, that's fine. You just have to have a policy and make sure they know it. Yeah. So I think, again, communication, make sure they understand what your policies are, what your processes are. And, those are just some of the pitfalls, if you will.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because the implementers, the doers, the done for you people like us, we are very flexible. We're used to having to pivot on a moment's notice
Right.
based on, time frames of other people or herding cats, as I sometimes call it. And that makes a difference when you're dealing with maybe someone who only works in strategy, because that just goes until it goes, I feel like, right? There really is no end time. We just
Right.
go through it until it's completed or we're happy or until the next iteration. So yeah,
Yes.
doers are very
Yeah.
flexible. How has white labeling, we touched on this a little bit earlier when we talked about selling to many instead of selling to one. But
Right.
how would you say white labeling has impacted your agency's revenue and your growth? And give us the goods. So those of us who are
Yeah.
listening who want to maybe get into white labeling feel confident.
Right. Yes. Well, yeah. So I think for one, again, the selling to one instead of many. So that's definitely been very helpful. Where we've had, a couple of different times agencies, we start with one client, and then all of a sudden they're growing fast, and they're like, "Hey, can you take four more, or five more?" So, that is something that is without me doing any kind of sales or marketing, is just benefiting the business. So that's, again, finding the right partner, finding somebody who's growing, find someone who wants to grow their agency, who wants to offer this service, and they see this service as a way to grow their agency. If they don't, you can help them figure that out, right? So I think that so that's a huge benefit, is doing that. The other benefit is you can really try, like, let's say you're in one niche and you want to go into another one. You can look for marketing agencies that support that and try white labeling with them and see, how you feel about that, and what you know about it, and learn about it. So, that's also a good way to learn around different industries if you're thinking of making a switch or adding some industries. But I think from the revenue perspective, it's just you can add revenue rather quickly if you are white labeling for multiple organizations that are growing. So now we're talking about selling the one to the one instead of the many. But if you have many marketing agencies who are all growing, and now you have 2, 3, 4 clients from each one of these marketing agencies, now your business has exponentially grown.
Yeah.
So it can be a really big benefit from that perspective.
And then what about the perspective of, say you have, let's just for whole number's sake, say you have 5 clients, and those 5 clients all start out with, bringing you one, but then all of a sudden they all quickly scale to somewhere between 3 and 5 more, total clients. So now
Right.
what happens on your side?
Yeah. So you freak out for a minute, and then, well, it's really about being ready, right? So a lot of times, like, having these conversations, knowing they're growing, right? So, interviewing is a project, recruiting is a project,
Yeah.
but having some, like, first of all, always understand the capacity of your team. How many clients can they take? How many hours are they working? Some people are part-time, full-time. What does that mean? Yeah, a full-time person is 160 hours a month, but that's not all billable time, right? So you really need to understand capacity and understand the capacity of your team. How long does it take them to create posts? Let's say it takes everybody 2 hours to an hour and a half, whatever the number is, depending on what you're doing. If you're creating reels, carousels, and static posts, or if you're just creating static posts. So there's some things you need to figure out what you're going to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing engagement? Are you not? So figuring out all of that, but also, so making sure you understand what you're going to deliver, understand how long that takes your team to build, and then understand how much capacity your team has, and always be ready to bring somebody else on. And that could be, you could bring on somebody, a contractor, you could bring on somebody part-time. It doesn't have to mean a full-time employee,
Right.
but always be ready. So if that does happen, you have a plan, you have a plan in place, and somewhere you can go to pull in some new and additional resources in some way. But I think the biggest part of that is understanding the capacity of your team.
Yes. God, this is so good. That's great advice. So, what final piece of advice would you give to agency owners like me who are considering white labeling or just getting into white labeling? And what would you say are the most critical success factors?
Yeah, I think just, start exploring it and start looking at your processes and your deliverables and what would that look like if you did white label? What pieces would you take out? How, again, looking at how much would you charge for it? So I think it's really, and again, talking to, if it's social media services or, whatever the services you're thinking of white labeling, go talk to some of your friends who own marketing agencies, because we all have them, right? Go talk to some of your friends who own marketing agencies and just ask them. Do some research. I'm thinking about white labeling the service. What do you think? What would you use it? Do you know people who would use it? Just get a list of 5, 6, maybe 10 questions that you would want to know as you get started. Even you can ask them, what would you pay for this?
Yeah.
What don't you know? What would I need to provide for you? So just doing some research before you're getting started. And then a lot of these tools you already have and you're probably using when you're working directly with clients. So how can I make templates out of some of these so that I can provide these to marketing agencies? I think just kind of changing your thinking a little bit around, taking out, okay, now I'm not working with a client, but I still need to get client information. How does that happen? And then, kind of making sure your team understands what's going on too. So even though their work hasn't really changed, they're going to still do great quality work. You still want them to understand the difference. And okay, now we're going to do white labeling. This is what it means. We're going to have it working with marketing agencies. So I think within your team, just help them understand why you're doing it, and just helps them realize, okay, this is maybe why we're seeing the same person commenting on a bunch of things back to us, because they're a marketing agency. So I think just get your team ready, understand all those things I was talking about, your capacity, what that looks like, how much work can your people take, how much does it cost you to bring them on. So not that you have to have all these ducks in a row. The second piece I would say is just start.
Yeah.
Just start. You'll figure out all of these things, because what will happen is a question will come up and you'll have to go research it, or you'll have to go figure it out. And, saying to somebody as you're starting through this, and especially if it's these trusted folks that you already talked to and like maybe let's figure this out together. Like, what would this look like for you? So it doesn't all have to be on you figuring everything out. But, the big thing is just start, just try it. And if it doesn't work or you don't like it, it's your business. You don't have to keep doing it.
This has been so good. And I'm assuming, Jackie, that if someone is looking for one of those people to talk to, they can talk to you.
Yeah, of course.
Tell
Absolutely.
everybody where they can find you, how they can connect with you, and where they can, soak up all of your wisdom around white labeling.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to anybody about this. I think it is a great way for marketing agencies to provide some services, and it just in a little bit of a different way. So LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn, Jackie Benjamin. You can go out there, connect with me, DM me. That's a great way to get in touch with me. You can, on my website, you can schedule some time with me. My website is www.weassistbusiness.com. So you can schedule some time to chat with me. I have a calendar link out there if you want to do that. And those are probably the two best ways to get in touch with me, really. But just reach out to me on LinkedIn DM if you have questions. I'm happy to just answer a question in the DMs too. So happy to help.
This has been fantastic. I'm definitely going to follow you on LinkedIn and make sure that we stay connected, because I'm sure I'll have so many questions about this. And hey, if you're shy, reach out and ask me questions, and I'll make sure I ask Jackie, and then we can talk about it on maybe another show.
Yeah, that would be great. Yes, absolutely. I'd love to.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing all of your white label experience with all of us. And everybody, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.